Now I see a bunch of black LGBTQs fighting with each other about non-binary people, and not a non-binary is in the building.
It's a selective outrage for me. None of the non-binary girlies said anything while Craig was saying that. There were plenty of non-binary girlies saying the things. I was one of them. Honey, yeah. There are some girlies out here who are non-binary. Yeah, yeah. Because truth be told, a lot of you bitches non-binary, you don't even know it.
Ooh, 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 I feel hit. Oh, Jesus. Train it down, train it down. I simply wanted non-binary people to speak for themselves. How can I defend something if I still got questions myself? I don't understand wanting to be called they, them, or it. To me, that's dehumanizing. Look, I don't want no smoke with a that can pluck a whole chicken with her bare hands. Love you, damn. Guys, gals, and guests, honey, yes, honey, as I promised, I'm here with my good sibling, Ciora, and we about to have the non-binary conversation on as How you doing, Ciora?
I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there. Long day, but glad to sit down with you and have this conversation. Because a long needed conversation in community that we've been avoiding, but we here now. We here now. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm good.
Absolutely. We where we left off, we heard my thoughts. So, do you have any thoughts just to start out, just as we get the conversation rolling?
Yes. So how dare a with a dick, a nigga with a have the fucking audacity to be motherfucking transphobic on a non-binary person's time? Because ain't we experienced that from the cis folks all our motherfucking lives? And we sitting on platforms talking about trying to denounce non-binary people. That's just what the cis folks is doing. Exactly what they are doing. And it's being replicated, even within our communities. So that's when I just be like, y'all, come on. We ain't gotta be like them. We can learn a little bit deeper, have a deeper conversation, so we're not being violent to the people that we need to be loving on. So that's my initial thought when I was thinking about coming into it. But we can still get into it. But that's my initial
How
thought.
how did you feel about my response to you? Because there were a couple of non-binary people in the comments that felt offended about the dialogue that you and I have as people who
Mhm.
already know each other.
I didn't take no. I know your humor. I know that already about you, so I got a kiki out of it as well. And it was also a learning moment for us both because you were also receiving it like, all right, sis, let's have a conversation and talk about it. It wasn't just berating, of the non-binary people, and that's something I wish other folks would take the time to do is just have the conversation that needs to be had because I'm sure there was a lot of my sisters and has been a lot of my sisters who were surprised that I identify as non-binary. And I sit around the girls all the time and I hear them going up and through the moon about the non-binary kids. And here I am sitting around them like, oh, okay, girls. All right. All right,
Sister,
girls.
I'm from the outside looking in, I'm more non-binary than you. A motherfucker would look at us and be like, "Bitch, Bre is more motherfucking non-binary than Ciora." Ooh, I feel like it's a read, and I feel like it's shade. But but on the real 100% note, because I have no problem with people perceiving me as androgynous, right? But realistically, I am more androgynous presenting than you. So what makes you identify as non-binary? Because bitch, you a femme queen.
Yes. So I had this epiphany, first of all. I know, and I'm going to say this from a girl who grew up with a lot of binary thinking. Um, Even with the thinking that the girls are thinking now, that's why I can place myself in the girl's like foot in the girl's shoes and be like, okay, I get what she's saying. but there's another way of thinking about it. And what brought me out of it was understanding that I was admiring to be like the cisgender binary community. I was raised to be that. I was taught to be a female. I was taught to be all these things to uphold this femme queen status of me. And I think just as I got older, that shit just got old. I got tired of like trying to keep up with the Joneses and be like everybody else around me when I was feeling something different. And it's not that I don't like still affirm like my me being a trans woman or femme queen, what have you, right? It's more so like I understood that even calling myself a trans woman, that I was living outside of the binary because the binary is male and female. And if we're calling each other femme queens or trans women, we're also essentially calling ourselves non-binary. We are not fitting inside of the binary of the construct of gender. And even the construct of gender is make believe. If we really do some real digging into when the Americas was colonized and understanding how Black people were living in the motherland in Africa, our ancestors were living very gender
Not
fluidly.
just not just our not just our African ancestors, but also the indigenous
Yes,
ancestors
absolutely.
and uncolonized tribes and uncolonized communities and neighborhoods that still exist today in this world. They don't adhere to our gender standards and our
Right.
gender norms. And I talk about it all the time, that transphobia, this whole idea of male and female and having to fit into this box of man and woman because you were either born with a penis or born with a vagina, and we're going to completely neglect all of the people who are born with ambiguous genitalia,
Right.
because
Right.
there are people who are naturally born somewhere in the middle in the
Right.
non-binary. There are
Mhm.
people who are natural, and not just humans. It exists throughout the animal kingdom.
Yes, it does.
You
Yes, it
know,
does.
like a big argument that I see LGBTQ people make now is about how there's 1,500 identified animal species who participate in homosexual activity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just in nature,
Mm-hmm.
without these
Mm-hmm.
concepts of human and all of that, right? There's also animal species like the seahorse,
Yeah.
where the male seahorse carries the baby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like I was saying, not to lose track, in our own human race, we have people who are born somewhere in the middle. We have people who, it's somewhere between a clitoris and a penis. It's
Mm-hmm.
somewhere between a labia and testicles. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
our intersex communities, is definitely, and I don't even think our intersex communities gets the shine that they deserve. And even a lot of times, intersex folks, like cisgender folks, can be walking around as intersex folks, and they don't even know it, because the doctors in our Western world are like deciding for them as a baby what genitalia they're going to keep, and they take the other genitalia away.
Sis, we
So
can't we can't we can't skip past that. What genitalia they're going to keep. I think a lot of times people look at me as a kiki and they forget that I'm really a motherfucking scientist. A published scientist, right? And in my studies we talk about these
come
things.
on, in my studies.
In my
Yes,
published
ma'am.
studies by the
Mhm.
APA, by the American Psychological Association, we talk about things, and I have co-authored studies where we mention things like doctors still choosing today whether your baby is going to be a boy or girl, female or male,
Mhm. Mhm.
and how they're still doing surgeries on kids' genitalias, and we not talking about circumcision. We talking
Mhm.
about when those kids are born with something between a vagina and a penis, something between a clitoris and a penis,
Mhm.
when they're born with this ambiguous genitalia, it's a common practice in our society for them to
Yeah.
do surgery on these people as babies. And
Immediately.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
without consent of
Yeah.
parents. Like
Yeah.
like you're like many people aren't aware that they're intersex because their parents don't even know.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Their parents don't even know if they're intersex.
baby, honey, and since we talk about, because I know to a lot of the lay people who don't do this work, y'all probably like, what the heck is them trannies over there going on about, honey? We talking about things like I know you know what PCOS is.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is technically an intersex condition.
Hmm.
These are people who naturally have variants in their hormones, who naturally have variants in their chromosomes. These are people, we have plenty of people, me for example, that I've shared with y'all before. I'm not a XX or XY, I'm a XXY.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
have an intersex condition. But
Hmm.
because the people ain't ready for that conversation, I just identify simply as a trans woman because I was assigned male at birth and I
Hmm.
transitioned to be seen legally and socially as a woman for my own safety. But
Hmm.
um but yes, Ciora, I gotta tell you though, and I gotta mention again, we got a lot of comments when we brought up this conversation. A lot of people are seeing it as a black and white thing. This
Hmm.
whole non-binary conversation. A lot of people are seeing it as these are white people
That's the problem.
who are white liberals
Hmm.
who want to be seen and who want to have a struggle and who just want to identify with transness because it's trendy. What do you say to that?
So, first of all, that is an extreme problem. And I'm going to start with it from this. I see what the rest of my sisters see. I see the Butch Queens transitioning out of fad, out of wanting to just be a part of the community, then they detransition a couple of months later. I'm seeing that too. And that's also a safety concern for a lot of the girls, and that makes it extremely valid. However, we still are living in a black society where black young folks are identifying also as non-binary, and where folks are understanding, and even folks my age, your age, our age, when they're understanding a little bit deeper about the gender diaspora, they start to identify with something more, a little bit more closer to who they are. When I was 15, the transgender wasn't a word. When I was a teenager, transgender was not a word. That was not a word we was using. It was something brand new. It was something I learned and I had to educate myself about. And then I was like, okay, I'm transgender. I'm a trans woman.
As soon as
Um,
I heard the definition, Ciora, I was like, "Oop, they got a word for people like me."
and yes,
And it
and
ain't
that's the same thing.
and it ain't she male.
And that's the same thing with non binary. This is a new term for all of us. This is a new thing for all of us, something we're all learning. And we should all be in a space to learn. Because as I alluded to earlier, when I'm sometimes sitting around the girls and they're just reading the non binary kids for filth, and I'm non binary too, the young people are looking at us, especially those with platforms, with responsibilities to community. They are watching us, and we are having an effect on their lives. So it's so important on what we say, how we say it, when we're kikiing, when we're reading. I know there ain't no all holds bars against like reading, and when it happens, it goes. However, we do need to think about these babies that are coming after us so that we're making sure that they are safe, especially these black babies, to make sure that they are safe and affirmed in everything we do. It doesn't take much to say they, them. It doesn't take much to respect somebody's gender. The same way we want cis folks to respect who we are as trans folks, non binary people shouldn't have to fight for that. They shouldn't have to beg trans binary folks to be accepted. That's a key. That's not helping our community.
You're
That's
right.
actual doing the opposite of what we could be doing for our community. So yes, understanding what some cis queer folks are doing um, and infiltrating our communities for different reasons, but also understanding that there are non-binary folks out there that are also who also look binary, who may not look like the quote unquote non-binary person. I know when folks think of a non-binary person, they think of an androgynous person or an androgynous white person, because you had mentioned a lot of folks think it's a white, just a white and black thing. It's not. It's not. So, this is something we need to be just paying attention to. So we're not erasing our kids. We're not erasing me and other girlies like me. And my pronouns are she, they. So you could still call me girl. You could still call me she, her. But there is also that they, them piece of me that I prefer. That's just what I prefer these days.
I gotta respond to that because for me, in all honesty, I still there is something dehumanizing for me.
Mhm.
And after I shared that there were people who said that they agreed. There was even people, non-binary people in the comments saying that they agree that some of the pronouns that are being used by non-binary individuals do feel dehumanizing to them.
Mhm.
And for me, I didn't get mad, or I don't get mad at people like Craig who will refer to a non-binary person by their name instead of they them pronouns, because for me it don't hurt nothing to say they
But that's
them,
for you.
right? But I also understand that it took a minute for me to get comfortable using they them pronouns, because and even now I don't always feel comfortable doing it because I do feel like using they them pronouns is dehumanizing.
Hmm. But I'll challenge that with this. Who made you the gender judge? Who made you the gender queen? Who can determine who can be called what at what time? Who made y'all the gender police on this is how it should be? And I don't think it's making, and you said it, it's making you uncomfortable. It's not making those who are non-binary uncomfortable, which I think is the most important when we're having this conversation. Not centering yourself, especially if you're coming from a space of thinking in a binary frame of thinking.
But
Um,
I have to get pushback for our trans siblings who feel the same, and
mhm,
who I feel like it's dehumanizing as a person of trans experience. I feel like
mhm,
it's dehumanizing because of my trans experience, because
mhm.
I've had so many instances where people refuse to refer to me as she, her,
But
hers.
who, cis folks, cis folks, they did that to you. Don't internalize that within our own community. That's called projecting. You're projecting experiences that you had with cisgender folks into our own community without loving the people that we have within our community. And we need to break that up. We really need to have a conversation about what that looks like so we can still love our folks and unlearn the things that we learned from our mamas or daddies that are cisgender and heterosexual and toxic as in a whole
My
bunch of
daddy,
ways.
to be fair, my daddy is a closet hag, and my mother
Well,
is a fag hag. So.
well, the closet has its skeletons.
And bitch, honey, I'm here on display, ain't I, honey? Bitch, look at me, rigor mortis.
Girl, but no, seriously, just unlearning that frame of thinking, the things that we learned from the cisgender community, because that's what we're pushing in our own communities, and even within the LGBTQ cisgender community, how they're weaponizing that and using a lot of us to also push that narrative within our own community, to make folks uncomfortable. Like when it comes to Craig, like. And folks like Craig, I'm so comfortable with me. I don't give a fuck what they got to say, like about the situations. However, like I was saying before, there are kids that do. There are young people that do. So it is our job as the older folks within leadership and community to check the mother when they're trying to denounce or erase the non-binary experience. That's just never going to be okay. No matter how you try to face it, no matter how you try to put it, it's never going to be okay. So either assimilate with the times, get used to it, or get left behind. That's just what it's going to be. It's a choice. It's always a choice.
All right, now, Ciora,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to address my own concerns again, I'm uncomfortable with people identifying as trans as a political statement. I see that being popular, and I see that being popular amongst people who are identifying as non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
With
Trans is a political statement, sis. In all of its glory, in all of our power, in all of our existence, being trans is a political statement, and it should definitely be a political statement now. as we are jumping into this next 4 years with Donald Trump. This is 100% our identities be a political statement. Some of us are scared, but some of us are not. Some of us are still having to be on the front lines and fight and be that political statement
Okay.
to represent the community. So, and I think this is taking us back to a white and black thing. I think a lot of us see white folks, doing political things, and white folks who identify as non-binary. And I think a lot of black folks are also looking at the white non-binary folks as if like, oh, they haven't transitioned enough. They don't look the look, and that's we're being biased there too. We're being biased there too because that's going to be the same within our communities. Yeah, we can kiki, or the girls will kiki about the white kids and the white non-binary kids, but when I tell you this, the black kids are watching.
Mm.
They're watching. They're paying attention. Just because you keep hearing about the white girls don't mean that they're not included in that. They're going to feel included in that. I've heard it from young people before through the work I do. So absolutely, it's political. Our
But
existence is political right now.
yeah, but as you mentioned before, and like I said, I understand trans people politicizing their transness. You and I do
Mm-hmm.
that. We do
Mm-hmm.
that regardless of what's going on in the media or in the news. That's why we have been labeled activists, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it still bothers me because I feel like people are using trans identity. For example, the people who haven't transitioned in their presentation, haven't
Mm-hmm.
transitioned socially, the people who are calling themselves non-binary, but they ain't changed a damn thing, and they don't really know trans experience because they're not seen as gender variant.
Mm-hmm. Times have changed. Times have changed, sis.
What
It's
you
not like it
mean?
was when we were younger, when we were just striving to just be in the binary, when we were not, or we were just striving for realness. We were striving to be the it girl, in community or on the ballroom floor. That's what we were striving to do. Everyone's not striving to do that anymore. Everyone's not striving to be the binary girly or the binary boy within community. Times have just changed, and we have to be comfortable with that. We have to
So
be as comfortable with that as we were as comfortable living our truths when people were telling us not to do that, when we were trying to be the girls. So,
so what about, and okay, I see that, I hear that, and I understand that the ultimate goal is to erase this whole false social concept of
of
gender,
gender.
right?
Hmm.
I get that. But what about the it girls and the binary girlies and your hyper femme trans
Yeah,
women and your hyper masculine trans men and the people who are comfortable in that?
yeah.
Are we erasing them? I feel.
No, they're not. As long as they're not toxic, they won't be erasing themselves. If they are putting themselves to think like cisgender heterosexual people while they are trans within the trans community, they're ultimately going to erase themselves. It is time for them to step into the 21st century and support these young people because these young people are going to be in the same positions that we're in right now. And when we're a little bit older, they're going to be reading the out of us, like, because we some old who ain't got it, who still using these same old gender pronouns, just the he or the she and her. They're gonna be reading out of us. And one thing about me, I'm not getting on that boat with you.
Oh,
Uh, not, I'm not doing that.
oh,
I'm going to
girl,
be
you
on the
ain't
boat
going
to
down with
freedom.
the girl. You ain't going down
No,
with the Titanic. You help us
no,
trannies get here, and you ain't.
no, no, girl.
Yeah,
Y'all
no,
got that one. I
no,
will not be
we
sinking on the door like Jack into the Pacific Ocean. Y'all got that.
damn girl, you leaving us out there to sink with Jack. But no, it's no shade. I'm not putting myself in this category. I mean, who's to say that I haven't purposefully facilitated and curated this whole situation for there to be a conversation. Who's to say? I mean, I'm just a dumb kiki. So if I was you, I wouldn't believe that I set this all up.
Well, you
But
know.
but no, real talk. When I first started studying gender and sexuality on a formal educational level, we predicted in the 2010s that generations Z and beyond were not going to adhere to binary gender standards.
It's called evolution.
And baby, honey, for all of y'all who are scared of not being able to identify people's sex by the way that they look, it's only going to get worse for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I suggest you hop on the boat or sink with Jack.
Jack!
My,
Jack!
my heart will go on to you. Will your heart go on to the girls who going to sink on the boat?
It
Ciora.
will not. It will
Ciora.
not. Because we too old for this. It will not. It will give very much road. I will move on with my life. And I wish you the very mother best at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. I'm going to be helping these babies out up here thrive, and get into the work and get into community and get what they need. I ain't doing the rest of that. I'm not doing that. Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
My heart will go on. Ow! Do you have any final words for the people, my love?
Uh, watch what you say.
Ooh, ooh. Watch what you say unless you're prepared to back it up.
Because, and like I said earlier, I'm around and I still love my sisters. It takes nothing away because I understand the journey of learning different gender identities and the intersection of the gender diaspora. I know the journey. It doesn't make like the bull you say okay, but some of your sisters or brothers may be sitting around you and they might be non-binary and has not come out about that and are scared to come out about that around you because they know with how you talk about non-binary people. Watch what you say.
Mm.
If you want true friendships, you want to true value true sisterhood, true brotherhood, you're gonna have to respect the rest of us who identify as non-binary. Because if you don't, that door's gonna be closed on you. It's gonna be closed, and you could be the fab girl, the it girl. You won't be to the community that's evolving.
Mm.
So take that while you got it.
And the example that I can't help but come to mind is the viral clip of Sanaya talking about the girls topping and about how all the girls ain't responding too well to that, and it has become a stain on her legacy.
Well, I talk very well, so I'm gonna be one of those girls who those them they girls who top baby.
Me too, honey. And it don't matter how long my hair is that day. It don't matter how much makeup I have on or don't. Honey, it don't matter how androgynous or non-binary I look. Baby, honey, as long as I got this meat, you gonna get slayed, and I don't plan on getting rid of it. But no, yeah, yeah. Depending on what side of history you wanna be on, baby. And I will give some advice that was given to me. Beware anytime you are on the side of the opposite team. Beware anytime you are saying things that people against your community are saying.
Including the LGBTQ cisgender community, including them, including them, including them.
And
Because
on
the T being taken out of the LGBTQ is looking mighty fine day by day, so that we understand what gender is and what a sexual orientation is.
and on that note, honey, peace, love, and blessings.